To your point about like coming to it through gore, like I'm of the generation when like rotten.com was still a thing, when like you could go to Live Leak and there were graphic things like, and I've seen all the as a young guy, not as a teenager, right? Because I was a teenager in the early 90s, but like when rotten.com was a thing in the early aughts and stuff, I've seen all the, the chainsaws and the Mexican cartel violence and stuff like that. I don't get the sense that my generation had more violence because of that stuff. So do you think that
you might have been old enough to be able to process that and recognize it as wrong, but think about these kids that are getting computers at 10 or 11, and that's what they're seeing, and they're exposing themselves to that constantly on a day in day.
But my point is, like, you can't. The internet's way less of the Wild West than it was back 20 years ago.
But it was harder to access too.
Yeah. Now, my point is, nowadays, it's my understanding or my impression that the internet is actually more sanitized than it used to be. We talk about there's a lot of murders that have happened that you can't actually find the original videos of anymore. So,
yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You mentioned the gore thing.
Yeah.
And in the FBI documents with the Wisconsin teen, this guy, Nikolai Kassup, a classmate told the FBI that Kassup would send gore edit videos that included flashing, gory, and war images put to Russian music via Snapchat. And then he said, that he intended to kill his parents, but he was involved in this gore stuff. But I think that certainly people can be conditioned to accept measures of violence. And that can happen through, a number of different ways. Like this is something that we've seen in war, like soldiers will be intentionally conditioned to accept violence and extreme horror and things like that. That's definitely true. But for decades and decades now, we've been told that it's either heavy metal music that's causing our kids to go nuts, or it's rap music. Well, it's not that, or it's all of these different things. And I think that there's something different going on than just, this experience of seeing horrifying things, or,
listen, it's definitely,
and there's a lack of respect for life.
Yeah.
There's a lack of belief in an everlasting soul. There's a lack of a belief that you have an innate part of yourself that cannot be, that you can protect, that can't be broken. I think that kind of concept is missing, and whether it's the decline of religion or the decline of any care for our neighbors. And then just to what you were saying about the cell phones, I think people use cell phones as a shield, and they think they're protected from it. Like I remember riding the subway when I lived in New York, and I would think, like, if I look at my phone, no one's going to bother me. Well, that's stupid. That doesn't.
I think it's absent parenting.
Yeah,
I think.
Well, there's that too, but that's not the only thing.
Yeah, but I think it's a bigger concept. Like a lot of these kids are killing each other over like disses, or like being made fun of, or being insulted, or those type of things, like
honor culture kind of thing.
It's not honor culture.
Well, that's the kind of thing that you're describing.
But it's
why I'm
like
asking.
emulating.
I'm asking a question. You don't need to roll your eyes at me, Philadelphia.
Honor culture makes it seem like there's something noble about it. There's something noble about this. These people don't earn respect. And what happens is they don't have any self-esteem. They don't have any self-respect, and they don't have anybody to guide them. And so instead of doing something productive with their lives, they take this short way to get this instant gratification. They put it on Instagram for clicks. And that's why I don't think it's about like drill the music. It's just that they diss them in the music. It's about the attention and the need to fill a void and feel special, feel connected to something, because they're not connected to their parents. They're not connected to their neighborhoods. They're not connected to their school. They're totally empty, miserable vessels. And so they're filling it with whatever attention they can, and they ratchet it up. Like, so it would be street fighting, or it would be carjacking. And now it's shooting people who dish you on a song on Instagram. Like it is a literal emptiness that they're filling because they have no self-esteem.
Nihilism, ultimately, I mean, it's very empty, but ultimately people just don't end up valuing human life. And Taylor Lorenz was recently on Hannity, I think it was, saying that she doesn't believe in souls. I mean, it's no wonder that she's endorsing Luigi Mangione.
Yeah, so Taylor Lorenz not believing in souls is typical of either an agnostic or an atheist. And Taylor Lorenz is, you know, I mean, fine, she can believe what she wants, but everyone knows she's kind of a moron anyway. So I don't know that I'm convinced that it is either music, and the reason I say that is
I don't think it is either.
Because like the things that you're describing in drill rap where they'll diss each other on Instagram and stuff. Look, you saw
that's the byproduct of what's happening.
You saw that stuff in the early 90s.
No, it's not like this. This is not the same. I swear to God,
how is it not the same
it's
when
not even
you
close.
had, you know, you had Dr. Dre and Eazy-E and all those
but
guys.
It wasn't cool for
literally
12-year-olds to go to try to kill their quote ops just because they got dissed on a song. It is slaughter. So I'm talking every other week we have a 13-year-old dying, a 16-year-old dying, a 14-year-old dying in Philly, like every week, and no one is talking about it. And then it's spreading.
But what was wasn't the murder rate really high in Southern California back in the 90s?
During like the COVID epidemic in 2022, like they got stimulus checks and they admitted in tons of these videos, like Brandon Buckingham and all these other people did like videos about what it was like in that culture. And they, with their stimulus checks, they bought guns. They literally bought guns. And the killings ratcheted up by like 50%. And it's still happening. Even I'm going to give Larry Krasner credit here is that he's really like buckling down on. We just arrested like, I think it was like 9 kids and they were involved in at least 16 violent homicides. One kid had 5 bodies that just got shot. I'm talking like these are kids slaughtering each other. And it's spreading. It's kind of like this Carmelo Anthony kid. He felt like he got dissed and the answer was to kill somebody. It is definitely spreading. It's not just in the inner city and it's spreading from like Instagram and the music, but it's not the music that's driving it. It's the culture that's driving it. Music is like a side product of it, like an externality.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.